She loved in shadows, where no one dared to follow her. The city once had a beautiful name, but no one used it anymore. People now called it Sector 12. It stood beside a dark sea, half broken, half alive. Tall buildings leaned like tired old men. Windows were cracked. Streets were empty after sunset. Above everything, silver patrol ships moved slowly across the sky like silent sharks. The invasion had lasted only 3 days. No one understood how it happened so fast. The power grids failed. Satellites went blind. Military bases went quiet. When the sky cleared, the ships were already there, floating calmly as if they had always owned the air. Humans were not wiped out. That was the strange part. The aliens did not destroy the cities. They controlled them. They set curfews. They placed towers that hummed with blue light. They watched. In Sector 12, everyone feared the night. Everyone except her. Her name was Mira. She lived in a small room above an old repair shop near the harbor. During the day, she looked ordinary. She wore simple clothes. She kept her hair tied back. She spoke little. Some people believed she was just another survivor trying to live quietly. But at night, she walked. When the curfew sirens echoed through the streets and doors locked shut, she stepped outside. She moved without hurry, without fear. The blue patrol lights passed over her sometimes, but she always seemed to disappear before the scanners could settle on her. People watched from behind curtains. They whispered that she worked for the invaders. They whispered that she hunted them. No one dared to follow her. One evening, a young mechanic named Arun stood near the broken entrance of his family's workshop. He was 23 and carried anger like a heavy bag on his shoulders. His older brother had been taken months ago to a labor transport ship. No message ever came back. Arun had tried to fight once. He had thrown a metal tool at a patrol drone. The drone did not even slow down. 2 soldiers came the next morning. They beat him and left him in the street as a warning. Since then, he fixed machines during the day and swallowed his rage at night. He first noticed Mira when she walked past the harbor checkpoint without stopping. The checkpoint was guarded by 2 alien soldiers in dark armor. Their faces were hidden behind smooth helmets. A scanning beam crossed the road every few seconds. She stepped forward just as the beam faded, moved between 2 stacks of rusted containers, and was gone. The soldiers did not react. Arun felt something shift inside him. He waited a minute, then he followed. The air near the harbor smelled of salt and oil. Waves hit the concrete walls with slow anger. He kept his distance, careful not to let his boots echo. Mira turned into an alley filled with broken fishing nets and empty crates.
Arun hurried after her. The alley was empty.
He frowned. There were no doors. No open windows. Only a long brick wall covered with old paint. Then he saw it. One brick near the ground was slightly darker. He crouched and pressed it. Nothing happened. A cold voice spoke behind him. "You are not careful." Arun jumped and turned. Mira stood there, only 2 steps away. He did not hear her approach. "I was careful," he said, trying to hide his fear. "No?" she replied calmly. "You were curious?" "That is different." For a moment they stared at each other. Her eyes were steady, not angry, not friendly, just watching. "I know who you are," Arun said. "You walk at night." "Things explode after you pass." She did not answer. "My brother was taken," he continued. "I want to fight." Mira studied him for a long second. A patrol ship moved across the clouds above them. Blue light touched the alley entrance but did not reach them. "Go home," she said quietly.
"I am not afraid."
"That is not the problem." She stepped back toward the brick wall and pressed the darker brick in a certain way. A narrow door opened silently in the wall. Arun's eyes widened. Behind the door was darkness. Mira stepped inside. The door began to close. Without thinking, Arun rushed forward and slipped through before it sealed shut. They stood in a narrow tunnel, lit by weak yellow lamps. The air was dry and carried the smell of dust and old metal. You should have listened, she said without turning. You need people, he replied. You cannot fight alone. She began walking deeper into the tunnel. After a moment, he followed again. The tunnel led to an old subway platform buried under the city. The tracks were gone. The ceiling had cracks, but someone had cleaned the floor. Small devices were placed along the walls. Wires ran like veins across the concrete. 3 other people waited there. A tall man with tired eyes leaned against a pillar. A middle-aged woman adjusted something on a metal table. A thin teenage boy monitored a screen connected to alien parts. They all looked at Arun. He followed you? The tall man asked. Yes, Mira replied. Should we send him back? Arun felt heat in his face. I can help. I fix machines. I understand circuits. The teenage boy gave a small laugh. Everyone says that. Mira raised her hand slightly. The boy stopped. What is your name? She asked. Arun. She stepped closer to him. If you stay, you do not speak about this place. You do not act without thinking. You do not chase revenge. You survive. Understand? He nodded. The middle-aged woman handed him a small tool. Then start by tightening those connections. Arun moved to the table. He worked silently, pretending not to stare at the strange equipment. Some parts were clearly alien. Smooth surfaces. No visible screws. Soft glowing lines under transparent covers. What is this? He finally asked. A reminder, Mira said. Before he could question further, the lights flickered. The teenage boy looked at his screen. Harbor transport arriving early. That is not normal. The tall man straightened. How many? 2 ships, heavy class. Mira walked toward a large display made from broken monitors joined together. On the screen, a feed from a hidden camera showed the harbor. 2 massive alien transport ships were descending slowly. Their surfaces were dark silver, reflecting the moonlight. Smaller patrol craft circled them. They are bringing something, the middle-aged woman whispered. Arun felt his heart beat faster. Labor prisoners. No, Mira said softly. Too much security. The ships landed. Ramps extended. Large containers were lowered onto the docks. Each container had glowing symbols. The teenage boy zoomed in. Energy signatures are high. Very high. Mira's eyes narrowed. A weapon, the tall man cursed under his breath. If they activate something new here, the city will not survive, the woman said. Silence filled the platform. Arun looked at Mira. We destroy it. The others turned to her. She did not answer immediately. Her gaze remained fixed on the screen. Finally, she spoke. We do not destroy it. Not yet. Arun felt frustration rise. Why wait? Because we do not know what it does, she replied. And if we act too soon, they will search every tunnel, every basement. We will lose everything. The tall man nodded slowly. She is right. Arun clenched his fists but said nothing. Mira turned to him. You wanted to fight. This is fighting. Patience. Hours passed as they watched the harbor. Workers in armor surrounded the containers. Strange towers were assembled around them. Near dawn, one container opened slightly. A pulse of blue light shot upward into the sky. Every device on their platform went dark for 2 seconds. When power returned, the teenage boy gasped.
It scanned the entire district? For what? Arun asked. Mira's face was calm, but her voice was hard.
For thoughts. The words hung in the air. Above them, a loudspeaker announcement echoed across the city. The alien voice was cold and mechanical. All citizens will remain inside during extended curfew. A new security system is active. Resistance will be detected before action occurs. Arun felt cold. They can read minds? He whispered. No, Mira said, not exactly. But they can detect patterns. Anger. Planning. Organized signals. The tall man looked at her. Then we are finished. She shook her head slowly. No. She walked toward a storage locker and pulled out a small metal case. Inside were parts that looked older than the invasion. "I have seen this technology before," she said. "Years ago, before the war." The others stared at her. "You worked with them?" Aaron asked. "I studied signals," she replied.
I learned how they listen. Outside, the sky began to brighten. Patrol ships moved faster than before.
The teenage boy suddenly froze. Movement near the alley entrance. Mira moved to another screen. A hidden camera showed alien soldiers standing near the brick wall door. Arun's breath stopped. "They found it." "No," she said quietly. "They are searching randomly." One soldier stepped closer to the exact brick that opened the door. The platform fell silent. The soldier paused. Then he turned away. The group exhaled together. "They are increasing patrols," the tall man said. "We cannot stay here long." Mira closed the metal case. "We move tonight," she said. "But before that, we give them a message." Aran looked at her, confused.
A message? She met his eyes. They think they can scan fear and stop rebellion before it begins.
"Let us show them something they cannot predict." That evening, as the extended curfew began, Sector 12 felt different. The air was heavy. The blue towers near the harbor pulsed slowly. Mira stood once again in the shadows of the alley. Arun stood beside her this time. "You can still go back," she said. He shook his head. "No." She gave a small nod. They moved through the hidden tunnel and emerged closer to the docks. From their hiding place, they saw the containers and the newly built scanning towers. Energy lines connected them in a circle. Mira handed Arun a small device. "When I say press this, what will it do?" "Confuse them." She slipped away like smoke, moving from cover to cover. Arun watched, barely breathing. She reached a power junction near the dock and opened a panel with quick, skilled movements. A patrol drone turned toward her. "Now," she whispered through a small communicator. Arun pressed the device. A sharp pulse spread through the area. The scanning towers flickered. Mira connected 2 wires inside the panel. The nearest container exploded in a burst of controlled fire. Not loud, but powerful enough to destroy the equipment inside. Alarm screamed across the harbor. Patrol ships rushed downward. Mira ran toward the shadows. Arun followed. Behind them, confusion spread among the alien soldiers. Their new system was damaged before it could fully activate. As they disappeared into the tunnel once more, Arun realized something. She did not love darkness because she feared light. She loved it because inside the shadows she could strike, protect, and survive. And now he had followed her where no one else dared. Above the city, the patrol ships circled wildly. But deep below, in the quiet underground, a new resistance had just begun. The underground tunnels were colder than Arun expected. The air smelled of damp metal and wet stone. Mira led him through narrow passageways, her steps silent and sure. The other members of the Shadow Network waited ahead, hidden among shadows and broken walls. Their faces were tense, eyes wide as they watched the small screens and monitors made from scavenged parts and alien tech. Each screen showed a piece of the city above, movement of patrols, the harbor, and the blue towers that hummed with energy. Mira did not speak much. She walked in front of Arun, always checking for traps, always moving like someone who had lived in shadows her whole life. He struggled to keep up, not because the paths were difficult, but because he had never seen a city from below. Entire districts were carved into underground layers. Old subway lines turned into secret paths, storage rooms transformed into safe houses. Every corner felt alive, as if the city itself was hiding from its conquerors. The tall man, whose name was Rami, explained the network to Arun. "We are small, but we are everywhere. Some know the streets above, some know the old communication lines, some study alien patterns. Mira moves between all of us. No one sees her, but everyone trusts her." The middle-aged woman, Lale, handed Arun a small device. "These are sensors. They will tell us when patrols are near. Do not trigger them by mistake." Arun nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. The teenage boy, Finn, was already at a screen scanning for energy signals. "The harbor weapon is not finished," Finn said. but the security has increased. Too many eyes above. Mira stopped at a central chamber, a large open space with cables hanging from the ceiling and workbenches scattered everywhere. She turned to Arun. You wanted to fight, but fighting is not only attacking. Sometimes you watch, learn, and strike at the right moment. Today, we watch. Hours passed in silence, interrupted only by soft beeps from sensors and the hum of old machines. Mira moved from station to station, checking every monitor, every line of code, adjusting, connecting. Arun worked beside her, tightening wires, connecting circuits, trying to understand the strange mix of human and alien technology. Each connection he made gave him a small spark of hope, a sense that humans could survive even under these alien eyes. Suddenly, the screens flickered. A small alien patrol moved along a side street near the harbor. Too close, Mira whispered. We cannot act yet. Patience. Arun's hands shook. What are we waiting for? He asked. Timing, she said. If we act too soon, they will destroy everything and hunt us all. We are shadows. Shadows strike when they do not expect it. The network continued to watch. Days passed, with patrols moving, shipments arriving, and the city remaining under alien control. Each movement above gave the group information. Each observation taught Arun something new. He saw patterns. He saw how the aliens relied on their machines. He saw how humans could hide, adapt, and survive. One evening, as the pale light of the artificial city sky dimmed, a loud explosion shook the tunnels. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the sensors went silent. Mira moved quickly to a monitor. The harbor was in chaos. One of the containers had exploded, flames licking the night sky. The patrol scrambled, unsure of what had happened. The orbital weapon had not fired yet, but the energy readings were unstable. Arun looked at Mira. Did you do this? She nodded slightly. A small test, to see if they notice, to see how humans can strike unseen. Finn's eyes widened. They will be searching the tunnels soon. Rami nodded. We move. Now. The others go deeper underground, set up new positions. We cannot stay here. The network scattered through hidden paths, disappearing into smaller tunnels. Arun followed Mira, his heart racing, realizing that the city above would never see them, but the humans below were alive, planning, surviving. Later, they reached another chamber, safer, where older maps of the city were spread across a table. Layla traced lines with her fingers. These are old sewer lines, abandoned for decades. Perfect for moving without being seen. Mira watched silently. Arun noticed her eyes never left the screens, the maps, the lights above. What is your plan? He asked. She turned to him. We wait, we learn, we act when the moment is perfect. They cannot predict human courage, our ability to change, to adapt. A new alarm sounded. Small patrols were near the tunnels. Mira's voice was calm. Time to hide. Move. They disappeared into narrower passages, leaving sensors and false signals behind. The patrols searched for hours, finding nothing. The city above remained unaware of the humans moving beneath them, quietly preparing for the moment they could strike in shadows. As Arun followed Mira through the dark tunnels, he realized that fighting alone would not save anyone. It was the network, the planning, the patience, and the courage that gave humans power. And Mira, moving like a shadow, was at the center of it all. She was not just a fighter. She was a symbol, a signal that humanity still had hope. The sky above Sector 12 had changed. The orbital weapon floated silently in the clouds, a pale disk reflecting the city lights. Humans walked the streets carefully, obeying curfews, afraid of the new surveillance. Even small gatherings were dangerous. Yet in the heart of the city, underground, Mira and her network prepared. The city felt alive with tension, a slow pulse of fear mixed with hope. Mira had studied the weapon for years before the invasion. She had watched alien signals, understood patterns, and learned weaknesses. Arun had joined her, learning, helping, and preparing. The network had grown, with scouts, engineers, and strategists working in silence. One night, Mira called a meeting in a new safe chamber. The walls were lined with maps, monitors, and old equipment. She explained the plan. "The orbital weapon scans the city," she said, pointing at a small model. "It can detect patterns, predict rebellion, find organized humans. But it cannot detect humans acting outside patterns, using emotion instead of logic. That is where we strike."
Arun frowned. But how?
"We are few, they are many." Mira smiled faintly. "We do not fight them directly. We confuse them. We send signals they cannot read. We make them believe the rebellion is everywhere, while it is only here, under control." Finn watched the screens. "We can send fake energy signals through the city grid, make it seem like many groups are moving."
Make the weapon scan false data, Rami added. "We also need people to sabotage supply lines."
Small attacks, nothing large. Just enough to keep the aliens off balance.
Lale said, "I have old maps of power stations and relay points."
We can use them to redirect signals and create confusion. Mira turned to Arun. "You will help me in the main city tower. We need to send a signal directly to the orbital weapon to test its reaction." Arun nodded, feeling fear and excitement. "What if we fail?" She looked at him, calm and steady. "Then we disappear. Shadows do not die. They move." Over the next days, the network worked silently. Sensors were placed, devices connected, monitors updated. Every movement was planned, every signal calculated. Arun learned to read patterns, to notice alien routines, and to predict movements before they happened. He discovered small weaknesses, gaps in patrols, and blind spots in surveillance. Each night, Mira moved through the city above, invisible, leaving trails of disruption and confusion. One evening, the alarm sounded suddenly. A shipment of alien weapons was arriving ahead of schedule. Mira moved toward the city tower, Arun at her side. The streets were empty, the patrol ships scanning, but they found the shadows empty. Mira led Arun through hidden alleys, over rooftops, and into a small building connected to the tower's lower levels. Inside, they watched the shipment arrive. Soldiers moved containers, unaware of the humans observing them. Mira's device connected to the building's energy grid. A pulse ran through the system, small but precise. The sensors on the shipment flickered. The alien guards paused, confused. Lights blinked across the city grid. The orbital weapon adjusted, detecting multiple false movements, unable to understand what was happening. Mira smiled faintly. "They cannot predict this. Humans do not follow patterns. Humans adapt." Arun felt a surge of hope. "We can do this. We can fight without being seen." Suddenly, movement appeared near the lower entrance. More soldiers. Mira did not panic. "We hide," she whispered. They slipped through a hidden passage, leaving the soldiers searching the empty building. When the guards left, they emerged from the shadows unnoticed, the city unaware that resistance had moved one step closer to challenging the orbital weapon. The night ended with the network back in the underground chamber, reviewing every move. Every action had been watched, every signal logged. Mira turned to Arun. "Patience is the first weapon. The second is courage. We have both. The next move will decide how far they are shaken." Above, the city remained under alien control. Lights pulsed, ships circled, and the orbital weapon scanned silently. But below in the shadows, humans moved with purpose, preparing to strike where no one expected, proving that even in darkness, hope could survive and humans could fight back. Arun realized then that the war above was only part of the battle. The true fight was in the shadows, where Mira lived, where no one dared to follow, and where humans quietly learned to rise. The orbital weapon hung in the sky like a pale, silent eye. Humans in the streets felt its presence but could not understand its power. Surveillance drones moved in patterns that seemed random but were precise. The aliens were confident. They believed humans were weak, predictable, and easily controlled. Mira knew otherwise. The underground network had grown since the last attack on the harbor. More humans joined them quietly, strangers with courage and skills, ready to vanish into shadows. Arun had become skilled, learning from Mira, moving like her, thinking like her. He understood patterns now, learned to read movements, detect weaknesses, and act without being seen. Mira stood at a control panel, a tangle of human and alien technology before her. Her fingers moved with speed and accuracy. Each connection sent signals through the city grid. Each signal carried a small lie, a disruption that would confuse alien sensors. The orbital weapon above could detect patterns, but humans could break patterns. That was their advantage. Finn monitored the energy readings. "They are adjusting," he said. "The weapon is responding to the false signals." Mira nodded. "Exactly as planned. Keep tracking every change." Rami adjusted one of the old monitors. "Supply lines are disrupted too. They cannot reach the harbor easily. Every container is delayed."
Lala spoke next. "We are stretching them thin."
"Patrols are everywhere, but they cannot cover everything. We make them chase shadows." Arun watched her, feeling awe. He had never known anyone so confident, so fearless. Mira moved like a shadow, calm, calculating, always one step ahead. Suddenly, a message appeared on one of the screens. A hidden camera showed activity near a central city tower. Soldiers moved strangely, scanning the streets more carefully than before.
"They are on to us," Finn said.
Mira studied the screen.
"Not yet."
"They are responding to the chaos, not the truth. We move tonight." "They prepared carefully. The plan was simple yet dangerous." Mira and Aaron would enter the tower from a lower level, connect a device to the building's energy system, and send a strong signal directly to the orbital weapon. The rest of the network would continue the distractions across the city. Hours later, they reached the entrance. Mira pressed a hidden panel. A narrow stairway descended into darkness. The walls were cold, damp. Arun's heart raced. He had never been this deep in the city before. The tunnels here were abandoned, forgotten by time and aliens alike. Mira led the way. "Keep quiet. Watch for anything unusual." They moved slowly, carefully. Sounds echoed in the tunnels, but none seemed dangerous. Then they reached a broken door. Beyond it, a maintenance passage ran along the tower's support pillars. Small lights flickered. Sensors hummed. Mira scanned the area with a handheld device. "Clear," she whispered. Inside the tower was enormous. Its metal floors reflected the pale light from the windows above. Energy lines ran through the walls, pulsing with faint blue light. The orbital weapon could detect every change, every movement, but Mira had studied the lines and knew their weakness. Arun followed her to a junction where old energy conduits met new alien circuits. Mira knelt and began connecting devices. Her hands moved like lightning, connecting wires, adjusting sensors, redirecting signals. Arun helped, careful not to make a mistake. One wrong move and they would be detected. Finn's voice came through a small communicator. "We are keeping them busy outside. You have 30 minutes before patrols change patterns." Mira nodded. "Then we act quickly." The first pulse ran through the lines. The orbital weapon detected multiple signals, each slightly different, each chaotic. It could not distinguish real movement from false. Patrols outside scrambled. Energy readings flickered. Soldiers hesitated, unsure if they were being attacked or tricked. Arun watched, amazed. "It works. They cannot read us." Mira smiled faintly. "Humans are unpredictable. That is why we survive." A sudden alarm rang through the tower. Small lights flashed red. Soldiers moved quickly toward the source of the signal. Mira's device hummed as it amplified. The orbital weapon pulsed in response, unable to adjust fast enough. Chaos spread across the city. From the lower levels, the network observed. Supply shipments were delayed, patrol routes changed, and communication systems went briefly dark. The aliens could not understand why humans were able to strike with such precision while remaining unseen. Suddenly, an unexpected figure appeared near the passage. An alien commander moved with speed, scanning. Mira noticed him immediately. She whispered to Arun, "Hide." They slipped into a shadowed corner. The commander scanned the area, confused. Then he moved on. Mira exhaled quietly. They cannot read courage, she said. They cannot understand determination. The pulse continued. The orbital weapon flickered, its system struggling. Aaron realized that humans had the advantage even when outnumbered, because they could adapt, improvise, and act in ways no alien machine could predict. Hours passed. The tower was silent except for the hum of the devices. The orbital weapon's signals became erratic. Patrols outside were exhausted and confused. Supply lines were disrupted further. Chaos reigned, yet Mira's network remained undetected. Finally, the device completed its cycle. Mira disconnected it carefully. "We have sent our message," she whispered. "They do not understand it, but they will respond. The city above will feel the effects soon." Arun felt exhilaration. "We did it." Mira shook her head. "We survived it. The fight continues. The weapon is not destroyed yet. They will adjust. We must remain unseen, patient, and ready." They left the tower through hidden passages, moving quickly to the safety of underground tunnels. Outside, the city seemed calm, unaware of the chaos that had occurred. The orbital weapon still floated silently, scanning, but it was confused, disrupted, vulnerable. Back in the safe chamber, the network gathered. Finn smiled. "They are searching everywhere but finding nothing." Rami added, "We have shown them that humans can strike without being seen. That is a start." Lala looked at Mira. "What is next?" Mira's eyes were steady, calm. "We wait, we learn, and we prepare. The weapon is only one part of the battle. The real fight is in the shadows, where no one expects us. We will strike again when they cannot predict it." Arun realized something. This was more than survival. This was a war of intelligence, courage, and patience. The city above might belong to the aliens, but below, in the shadows, humans had found their strength, and Mira, moving unseen, led them like a shadow guiding the way. They had begun a fight that no machine could fully understand, and no alien could anticipate. The city tower stood taller than anything else in Sector 12. Its metal walls reflected the pale light of the orbital weapon above, a constant reminder of the alien presence. Inside, Mira moved carefully, silent as a shadow. Arun followed her closely, his eyes wide as he studied the alien control rooms and their unfamiliar technology. Every step was calculated, every sound measured. They reached a large chamber, walls lined with alien consoles, blinking lights, and humming machines. Mira motioned for Arun to stay back. She began examining the control panels, her fingers running over the strange symbols and energy lines. Arun watched, trying to understand the pattern, but it felt alien, almost alive. Suddenly, the chamber doors opened. An alien commander entered, tall, armored, and imposing. His helmet reflected the blue lights of the panels. Mira did not flinch. She remained calm, as if expecting him. "You are far from safety, human," the commander said, his voice metallic, emotionless. Mira's voice was steady. "Safety is not something humans need from you. We create it ourselves." The commander's scanning device extended toward her. It moved over her head, shoulders, chest, reading, analyzing. Aaron held his breath. He expected panic, a warning, or at least fear. But Mira did nothing. She remained calm, controlled, her eyes locked on the device. The device beeped erratically. The commander frowned. "This is unusual. Your mind, your patterns, they are unexpected." Mira smiled faintly. "Humans are not predictable. We feel fear, yet act with courage. We calculate, yet we improvise. You cannot understand us." The commander paused, unsure how to respond. He backed away slowly, then gestured to his guards. They moved forward, ready to restrain Mira. She did not resist. She only waited. Arun felt his heart pound. He wanted to act, to help, but Mira's calmness made him hesitate. He realized that she had a plan. Even now, under the eyes of the enemy. Meanwhile, deeper in the city, the shadow network was active. Finn and Rami monitored multiple screens, sending small signals through the city grid, creating chaos and confusion among the alien patrols. Lala adjusted energy pulses, making supply lines falter. Humans above were unaware of the precise coordination happening below. Each signal, each small disruption, distracted the aliens from what was really happening in the tower. Back in the chamber, Mira waited until the guards were distracted by false alarms from the network. Then she moved quickly. With expert hands, she connected a hidden device to the alien consoles, sending a controlled pulse into the energy grid. Lights flickered, monitors blinked. The orbital weapon signals above shifted erratically. The commander turned, realizing something was wrong. He activated a defensive system. Panels locked down. A soft alarm sounded. Guards turned toward the source of the signal. But Mira had already slipped between shadows, moving toward the central control room of the tower. Arun followed, trying not to make noise. He was learning to move like Mira, blending with the shadows, thinking ahead, predicting movements. Each step he took brought him closer to understanding her skill, her courage, and her way of surviving in a world ruled by aliens. They reached a massive chamber in the heart of the tower. Energy lines ran through the floor and walls, pulsing with alien light. The room hummed with power, the orbital weapon above feeding signals into it continuously. Mira moved to the central console, attaching devices that Lale and Finn had prepared. Arun assisted connecting wires, monitoring readings, adjusting flows. Suddenly the alien commander appeared again, blocking the exit. "You cannot escape," he said. "Your efforts are meaningless."
Mira looked at him calmly.
"It is not about escape. It is about action." She activated the device. A pulse of energy ran through the chamber, sending a chaotic mix of signals to the orbital weapon. It could not distinguish human movements from false patterns. Sensors blinked, patrols outside hesitated, and the entire city grid became unstable. Arun watched, amazed. "It is working. The weapon cannot read us," the commander shouted orders. Guards moved, trying to shut down the devices. Mira worked faster, redirecting the energy, sending waves of confusion. The orbital weapon pulsed in response, struggling to process the human signal. Alarms sounded throughout the tower. Patrols outside scrambled, unsure where the threat was. Supply lines failed. Communications were disrupted. Chaos spread, yet Mira remained calm, precise and focused. Arun realized the truth. Humans could fight differently, not with brute force, but with intelligence, patience, and courage. The aliens had power, numbers, and technology, but humans had adaptability, creativity, and unpredictability. The commander approached, trying to seize Mira. She moved at the last moment, slipping past him, her movements fluid and precise. Arun followed, covering her as they navigated through the tower, using hidden passages and maintenance corridors. They reached a side chamber, where Finn and Lala had prepared additional devices. More pulses ran through the city grid. The orbital weapon flickered violently, its systems struggling to adjust. Patrols outside were confused, unsure of where to go, what to guard, or what to attack. Mira turned to Arun. "This is only part of the battle. The weapon is disrupted, but not destroyed. We must move again before they regain control." Arun nodded, understanding her strategy. The fight was not about defeating the aliens outright. It was about survival, preparation, and striking where they could not expect. Every disruption, every false signal, every act of courage contributed to a larger plan. They moved through the tower, setting additional pulses and signals. The aliens were everywhere, but Mira and Arun were invisible. The commander tried to follow, but the chaos and confusion worked in their favor. Each step Mira took demonstrated her mastery of strategy, her calmness under pressure, and her understanding of human resilience. Hours passed. The tower was unstable, alarms ringing, lights flickering. Mira and Arun completed their tasks, sending a final pulse to the orbital weapon. The signals above became erratic, the patrols were in disarray, and the city grid flickered unpredictably. Finally, they retreated to a safe corridor. Mira exhaled quietly. "We have shown them that humans cannot be controlled by fear or prediction. We are unpredictable, and that is our strength." Arun looked at her, amazed and inspired. "I understand now. We fight differently, quietly, unseen, but effectively." Mira smiled faintly. "That is how humans survive. That is how humans rise, even in darkness." They descended deeper into the hidden tunnels of the city, leaving the aliens scrambling to regain control. The orbital weapon pulsed above, disrupted and confused, but still intact. The city above remained unaware of the quiet war happening beneath their feet. Back in the underground chamber, the Shadow Network monitored the results. Supply lines were failing. Patrols were confused. Communication grids were disrupted. The aliens did not understand how humans had achieved this. And Mira, moving through shadows, had demonstrated the power of patience, intelligence, and courage. Arun realized that the fight was only beginning. The tower was just one part of a larger plan. Humans had strength, adaptability, and resilience. And under Mira's guidance, moving unseen, they could challenge the aliens in ways no machine could predict. Mira looked at the team. "Rest now. Learn from this. Prepare for the next move. The weapon is only one part of their power. We will strike again where they do not expect, and we will continue until humans are free to rise." Arun felt a surge of determination. He understood that the true battle was not just in open conflict, but in the shadows, in careful planning, in courage that machines and numbers could not measure. And he was ready to follow Mira wherever the shadows led, to fight in ways no one above could see, and to rise quietly, yet powerfully, against the alien oppressors. The city was silent, yet alive with danger. Patrol ships hovered above, their blue lights cutting through the fog. The orbital weapon blinked in the sky, still pulsing erratically after the previous disruptions. The humans below knew the aliens could strike at any moment. Every sound could signal danger. Every shadow could hide a threat. But Mira moved through the city like it belonged to her. She was calm, focused, invisible. Arun followed her through narrow streets and hidden alleys. He had learned to move without hesitation, to blend with shadows, to think like Mira. The underground network had grown stronger. More humans joined, skilled in electronics, sabotage, and intelligence. Each one played a part in the plan to challenge the aliens, to survive and to fight in silence. Mira led them to a safe house near the city center. The building was abandoned, its walls cracked, windows broken. Inside, devices hummed, monitors displayed the city, and cables ran like veins along the walls. Finn monitored the energy signals, Rami prepared diversion plans, and Lale adjusted the hidden equipment connected to the orbital weapon. "The weapon is still active," Mira said, her voice calm but firm. "We cannot destroy it, but we can make it useless. The humans above must remain free to move without being seen." Arun checked one of the devices. "The pulse we send will confuse it?" "Yes," Mira replied. "We will send a frequency that the orbital weapon cannot read. It will detect patterns that do not exist, signals that do not match human movement. It will panic. It will be forced to respond to ghosts." Hours passed as they prepared. Every wire was checked. Every signal calculated. Every step of the plan had to be perfect. The aliens had adapted slightly, but they were still reacting to human unpredictability, and Mira knew exactly how to exploit it. When the time came, Mira and Arun moved to the tower that housed the central energy control for the city. They entered through hidden passages, avoided patrols, and reached the central room. Darble broad. Energy lines pulsed, feeding the orbital weapon above. Mira connected a small device designed by Lele to the grid. Arun helped, adjusting wires, monitoring readings. Mira activated the device. A pulse ran through the energy lines. The orbital weapon flickered above. Signals blinked. Patrols outside hesitated, unsure of the source. Chaos spread across the city. Supply lines were disrupted. Communication towers went dark briefly. The aliens were confused. Suddenly, the alien commander appeared in the chamber.
Stop this! You cannot disrupt our weapon! Mira turned calm. We are not stopping. Humans adapt, and we will always find a way.
The commander lunged toward her. Mira moved with precision, stepping aside, redirecting the pulse.
Arun followed, covering her. The commander tried to seize the device, but it was connected to the energy grid.
He could not remove it without risking damage to his own system. He stepped back, frustrated, confused. The pulse intensified. The orbital weapon above flickered violently. Patrol ships changed course, some colliding briefly with one another before correcting. Signals from supply ships were delayed. The aliens scrambled to regain control. Mira moved through the chamber, connecting additional devices to amplify the frequency. Arun worked with her, adjusting energy flows, redirecting signals. The orbital weapon above struggled to adjust to the chaos. It could not understand the human signals, could not read courage, fear, hope, and determination mixed together. The humans were unpredictable, and that was their strength. Outside, the city felt the effect. Patrols were confused. Supply shipments failed to arrive. Lights flickered. Aliens shouted orders that went unheeded as soldiers searched for a threat they could not find. Chaos reigned, but the humans below moved calmly, efficiently, and with purpose.
Arun looked at Mira. It is working.
They cannot read us. They are blind. Mira nodded. Humans survive in darkness. They act where no one expects. That is how we fight. That is how we win. Slowly, quietly, without being seen. The commander returned with more soldiers. Mira stepped into the shadows, moving with the grace and speed of someone who had lived her whole life unseen. Arun followed, learning every move. They avoided confrontation, striking only when necessary, sending pulses through the energy grid that disrupted the orbital weapon further. Hours later, the devices completed their cycles. The orbital weapon was not destroyed, but it was forced into instability. Patrols were exhausted. Supply lines were chaotic. Communication grids were unreliable. The aliens did not understand how humans had achieved this, and Mira, moving like a shadow, had demonstrated the power of courage, intelligence, and patience. The city above remained unaware of the precise actions that had saved them. Citizens walked the streets cautiously, obeying curfews, but the orbital weapon, their fear, was now confused and unreliable. Humans could move more freely, plan more safely, and resist in ways the aliens could not predict. Back in the underground chamber, the network celebrated quietly. They had succeeded in creating chaos without detection. They had disrupted the aliens without a direct battle. Their plan had worked, but Mira reminded them that the fight was not over. The orbital weapon is only one part of their control, she said. We must remain patient. We must continue to move, adapt, and strike where they cannot expect. This is how humans survive, how humans rise, and how we will reclaim our world. Arun understood fully now. The true battle was not just in fighting openly, but in being unseen, in planning, in courage, in intelligence, and in patience. Mira had shown him the way. He was ready to follow her, wherever shadows led, to fight in silence, and to rise with humanity in ways the aliens could never predict. Above, the orbital weapon pulsed irregularly. Patrols scoured the streets, and the city held its breath. Below in the shadows, humans moved with purpose, guided by Mira, and the quiet war had only just begun. The city above Sector 12 was quiet, almost too quiet. Patrol ships hovered slowly, their lights cutting through the mist, while the orbital weapon pulsed erratically in the sky. Humans moved cautiously, obeying curfews, fearful of every shadow. Yet below, in the tunnels, a different kind of life stirred. Shadows moved with purpose, unseen, as humans prepared their final strike. Mira led Arun through narrow passages, deeper than he had ever been. The underground network had grown stronger, more coordinated. Scouts reported patrol movements, engineers adjusted devices, and strategists planned every step. The humans worked as one, united by courage and determination. They were the shadows, the invisible threat the aliens could not predict. Finn monitored energy lines, his eyes scanning monitors for patterns. The orbital weapon is unstable. It is reacting unpredictably, he reported. Mira nodded. Good. That is exactly what we need. But it is not enough. We must strike at the source. She pointed toward the city center. The main control tower. That is where we will end this.
Rami and Lala handed them additional devices.
These will amplify the pulse, Lala explained. They must be placed precisely in the energy grid. One mistake and it could backfire.
Arun took the devices, feeling the weight of responsibility.
We cannot fail, he said. Mira glanced at him. We do not fail. We survive and adapt. That is what humans do. Follow me closely. Stay calm and move with the shadows. They reached the tower's base through hidden tunnels. Guards were present, patrols moved, sensors scanned. But Mira and Arun were invisible. They slipped past, blending into the darkness. The city above seemed oblivious to the movement of shadows below. Inside the tower, energy lines ran like veins, feeding the orbital weapon above. Mira placed the first device carefully, connecting it to the main conduit. Arun followed her instructions precisely, adjusting wires, monitoring readings, ensuring each pulse would reach the weapon. A sudden alarm echoed. Patrols above and within the tower responded immediately. Soldiers moved quickly, searching for the source. Mira did not hesitate. She moved to the shadows, Arun following, activating the second device. A pulse of energy spread through the grid, sending a chaotic signal toward the orbital weapon. Outside, patrols hesitated. Lights flickered. Communications faltered. Supply shipments were delayed. Confusion spread like wildfire among the aliens. The orbital weapon pulsed erratically, unable to decipher the signals from the humans below. Every attempt by the aliens to regain control failed. The alien commander appeared in the chamber, blocking their path. "Stop this immediately," he demanded, his voice metallic and cold. Mira remained calm. "Humans are unpredictable. We act when we must. Your control ends here." The commander lunged. Mira moved with precision, slipping past him and redirecting the pulse to maximize disruption. Arun followed, covering her, adjusting devices. The orbital weapon above struggled, its systems flickering, signals corrupted by the human pulse. Patrols outside were in chaos, unsure where to go, what to guard, or what to attack. The devices completed their cycle. The orbital weapon above pulsed violently, unable to stabilize. Patrol ships collided briefly before correcting, supply lines failed further, and communication grids went dark in multiple sectors. The aliens could not understand how humans had achieved this, and more importantly, they could not predict the next move. Mira turned to a run. "This is only the beginning. We have shown them that humans are not predictable. That is our power." Arun nodded, feeling a surge of determination. He understood now that the true battle was not just in fighting openly, but in patience, intelligence, and courage. The humans below moved silently, striking where the aliens could not anticipate. The network outside the tower continued its work. Small disruptions spread across the city. Diversions drew patrols away while signals continued to confuse the orbital weapon. Chaos reigned above, but humans moved efficiently, unseen and effective. Every act, every pulse, every signal contributed to the larger plan. Mira and Arun moved through hidden corridors, placing additional devices, amplifying signals, and sending the orbital weapon further into confusion. Each pulse weakened the aliens' control, disrupted supply chains, and created openings for human movement. The city above remained unaware, the citizens still walking cautiously, but the humans below were gaining power, slowly reclaiming control. Hours passed, patrols were exhausted. Guards within the tower struggled to regain order. The orbital weapon flickered, its pulses erratic, signals unreadable. The aliens could not understand how humans had achieved this. They were chasing shadows that did not exist, reacting to patterns that were false. Finally, Mira deactivated the last device. The orbital weapon above continued to pulse, but now weakly, unstable, unable to maintain control. Patrols were in disarray. Supply lines were chaotic. Communication systems were unreliable. The city above remained under alien presence, but the balance of power had shifted. Humans had proved that they could strike unseen, disrupt control, and survive. Back in the underground chamber, the Shadow Network gathered. Finn monitored readings. Rami and Lala prepared for future operations. Mira addressed the group. We have shown them that humans are not predictable, that courage and intelligence are stronger than fear in numbers. But this is not the end. We must remain patient. We must continue to move, adapt, and strike where they cannot expect. Aran looked at Mira, understanding fully now. We fight in the shadows, unseen, but with purpose. We rise quietly, yet powerfully, against those who try to control us. Mira smiled faintly. Humans survive in darkness. We act where no one expects. That is our strength, and that is how we will reclaim our world. Above, the orbital weapon flickered weakly, patrols searched aimlessly, and the city held its breath. Below in the shadows, humans moved with purpose, guided by Mira, ready to continue their fight, invisible, relentless, and determined. The war had reached a new stage, and the humans, led by shadows and courage, had taken their first true step toward freedom.